What's going on, Falcons fans? Coming up on today's show, we're going to run through the latest trade rumors pertaining to Atlanta involving a trade candidate and a trade target with the NFL trade deadline rapidly approaching on Halloween. Now, before we get into all that good stuff, we are in a sub battle right now with our Commanders channel here at Chat Sports. And we got a 5-sub lead on them going into the weekend. Let's put them below the dirt, right? Let's make sure we not only take down the Commanders on Sunday, but also beat the Commanders report here at Chat Sports in subscribers. So join the channel if you have not already. Now let's get into our first trade story for today's show, and that is, should Atlanta go out and trade away safety Jaylinn Hawkins? Well, The Athletic put out a couple of trade candidates for a handful of teams, and for Atlanta, they suggested Jaylinn Hawkins. Now here is what Josh Kendall had to say on this. The Falcons' defense is much deeper than it has been in recent years, but not so deep that it can afford to get rid of good players, except at safety. Hawkins has started 22 games in his 4-year career, including 16 a season ago, but he was forced into a backup role by Atlanta's offseason signing of Jessie Bates. The Falcons safety room is loaded, right? You've got Jessie Bates, who's been a top 3 safety in football this year. Richie Grant has been spectacular. Hawkins is sort of the odd man out, like Josh just pointed out. And then you've got Rolly and Mine's preseason prince, DeMarcco Hellams. So if an injury were to pop up, I'd be confident with Hellams filling in for Bates or Grant over Hawkins if you did move on from Jaylinn. Now, Kendall would also add this. Hawkins, who has 4 career interceptions, responded with the best training camp performance of his career, but he's still having trouble getting on the field. He's only playing about 10% of the defensive snaps, and rookie DeMarcco Hellams is coming up strong behind him. Like Josh mentioned, we have not seen much of Hawkins. A lot of teams never take their 2 starting safeties off the field. It's just not a position of rotation. So with Jessie Bates and Richie Grant playing essentially every snap, if you get a 3 safety look, that's when you get Hawkins on the field. But outside of that, Atlanta's got a bit of a luxury. They have a starting caliber safety on their bench right now. And I am sure there are other teams out there that would love to have a starting caliber safety on the field for them, whereas Atlanta's got one riding the pine. So we've got DeMarcco Hellams, who played very well in training camp in the preseason as your 3rd safety. That could allow Terry Fontenot to stomach with, hey, if we did have to go to DeMarcco Hellams for a game or 2 because something happened to Bates or Grant, I would feel comfortable, and I'd like to get a draft pick back for a guy who's playing like 20% of defensive snaps so far. Not even 20%, 9% of defensive snaps so far. I mean, Jaylinn Hawkins in his career, 124 tackles, loads of experience, 47 games played, 9 pass breakups, 4 interceptions. He had a boatload of starts last year, but they weren't great. I mean, he was not a very good starting safety last year, and that's why Atlanta really made Jessie Bates a priority in free agency. So let me know, would you go out and trade Jaylinn Hawkins? Do you think you could be getting greedy and you'd be moving on from a valuable depth piece, so you don't want to do it? Or could you get a good draft pick for a guy who plays 9% of your defensive snaps? If you could get a 5th rounder, let's say as the NFL trade deadline gets closer and closer, a contending team in the AFC loses a starting safety or DB. The Bills are going through a lot of injuries in their secondary right now, and they go, you know what? We are in a good spot, and we do not want to let a rash of injuries in the secondary derail a promising season. So we'll toss a 5th over to Atlanta's way. You guys aren't even playing him. Get a good draft pick for someone who plays 9% of your defensive snaps. I'm in. Now, next up on the show, I want to talk about a different type of trade. This one has someone coming to ATL. Could maybe Jerry Jeudy, the former first-round pick, return back to SEC land and play for Atlanta? We'll talk more about that in just a brief moment. But really quickly, today's show is sponsored by Game Time. You shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. So if you're trying to catch an upcoming Falcons game, you want to go see a Hawks game, you want to go see anything in your area, make sure you visit Game Time first because they're going to have the lowest price guaranteed, and they've got so many awesome benefits. My favorite is the ability to actually see your seat or your view before you purchase your seat. Plus, thanks to Game Time, they're giving Dirty Birds fans $20 off when you download the Game Time app and you create an account and redeem the code Falcons Chat. So the first drink or two is basically on Game Time before you even sit down at your seat. So download Game Time today, redeem the code Falcons Chat for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but again, create an account and redeem that code Falcons Chat for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Let's talk Jerry Jeudy, shall we? Because Denver's a dumpster fire. I don't know if you guys caught Thursday Night Football. It's bad right now out west. They're 1-5. They are looking to implode and blow it up right now. So you could see some teams come by and pick up, pieces from the Broncos for, I wouldn't say dirt cheap, but probably not nearly what they're worth, knowing, hey, the Broncos are going to hit the reset button hard. We could get some first-round talent for maybe a second or a third-round draft pick. Now, Jerry Jeudy is not going to come over to Atlanta this year as a one-year rental. This would be a trade long-term, right? This would be a move where Terry Fontenot goes, oh, we can get first-round talent for a second or third-round draft pick and get us a true wide receiver 1 and 2 combo next to Drake London long-term for a day 2 pick. Yeah, we'll take that because Jerry Jeudy in his career has been underwhelming, but he's got that first-round lure to him, right? He had all those great seasons at Alabama, but this year it hasn't been so great. He's played in 5 games. He's got 20 grabs for 222 yards, no touchdowns. Last year was his best season. He played very well down the stretch. 67 grabs for 972 yards and 6 touchdowns. I don't think trading for Van Jefferson would eliminate Atlanta for trading for Jerry Jeudy. They're very different types of trades, right? The Van Jefferson trade was, hey, we need help at wide receiver. We don't want to break the bank. We can get a proven guy who had an awesome season 2 years ago for a day 3 pick swap. Whereas Jerry Jeudy, that would be a blockbuster-esque move, right? That's Atlanta going, okay, we called Denver. They said it would only cost a second rounder. Who could we get in the second round of this upcoming draft at wide receiver? Are there many good second round receivers this year? If not, let's go get a guy like Jerry Jeudy who we would have for the rest of this year and all of next year because he had that 5th-year option picked up, and we can make a decision after 2024 whether or not we want to extend him. So here's my trade idea. What if Atlanta sends over a 3rd and a 5th? I'm not in bed with the idea of giving up a second for Jerry Jeudy because honestly, he hasn't looked like a guy, just raw numbers-wise, who should go for a second-round pick. But he is an extremely talented and gifted wide receiver that maybe just needs a change of scenery, right? Maybe he needs to come back closer to home and play with that lights-out offense with Desmond Ridder slinging the rock, and it could get you a really good jump start on a wide receiver duo of Drake London and Jerry Jeudy. First-round talent, but you didn't have to use 2 first-round picks to get them. Cost you a 1st, a 3rd, and a 5th for maybe a very explosive dynamic duo. So would you accept this trade if you were Fontenot and George and Sean Payton, the Broncos brass, gave you a call and said, hey, we'll give you Jerry Jeudy for a 3rd and a 5th. Are you going to do that trade? Yes or no? Accept or decline? Deal or no deal? Give me your honest opinion in the comment section. All right, moving on to the final segment on today's episode. Should the Atlanta Falcons go out and speak of the Broncos, sign a former Broncos edge rusher, Frank Clark? I wasn't joking earlier when I said it's a fire sale in Denver right now. Clark was officially released by the Denver Broncos, and so he is free to sign wherever he chooses, and maybe he could sign with a contending team like Atlanta. Frank Clark has not had a very good start to the season so far with the Broncos. He's only played in 2 games. He missed some time with a hip injury, but he had no impact in those 2 games, let's be honest. But before that, he had some good seasons with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Seattle Seahawks. And of course, like we mentioned on a previous episode of ours, he is an absolute menace in the postseason. 12 games with the Chiefs in the playoffs, 10.5 sacks. One of the best edge rushers in playoff history in the National Football League. It would be cheap You're already a quarter or, a third of the way-ish into the season at this point. We're at week 6, believe it or not. So you're not going to have to pay what Denver paid originally, which was $5.6-ish million back in June. No, you'd be paying half of that because you're only getting about half a season of production from him. So wouldn't cost you that much. Would add a proven playoff commodity for a team that wants to go to the playoffs and hopefully make some noise in the playoffs and not be a one-hit wonder. And it deepens this pass rush, which is still a committee group that is still looking for someone to maybe take the lead and be the number one edge rusher. Even if that's not a 10-plus sack guy, someone that can go out there and come up with a big sack on 3rd and long to help Atlanta win. All right, that's going to do it for us on today's show. Let me know if you enjoyed the video by subscribing and liking the video literally. That definitely goes a long way to help supporting the channel and keeping it growing. So if you're looking for more Falcons YouTube content, subscribe today.